2.6 million tons. That is how much bomb tonnage a single aircraft family dropped in a single war. Let that sink in. That figure is greater than the total amount of bombs dropped by all Allied forces combined during World War II. Welcome to the story of the B-52 Stratofortress. An aircraft that didn't just shatter every record in strategic bombing, but is now on track to serve continuously for 100 years. Even today, it is still being selected to carry weapons traveling 5 times the speed of sound, still being prepared for a future where strikes are planned and executed with artificial intelligence, well into the year 2050. Not stealthy, not fast, and yet never replaced. The question isn't why it's still flying. The question is why the United States Air Force is willing to bet its future on a legend that is more than 70 years old. Welcome to the B-52, the flying fortress that refuses to be replaced. Chapter 1: The Fortress That Refused to Die. In 1948, while the world was still operating slow, propeller-driven aircraft, the B-52 emerged as a machine from the future. It was built around a design that didn't just meet military standards, it shattered them. Its most formidable feature was its distinctive swept wings, stretching beyond 185 feet. Those wings carried 8 massive jet engines, capable of lifting a maximum takeoff weight of 488,000 pounds, over 244 tons of aircraft, fuel, and payload. At the time, it was the most intimidating combination of thrust and payload ever built. To manage the crushing stresses of landing such a giant, Boeing engineers created a landing gear system unlike any other. 4 independently rotating wheel assemblies allowed the aircraft to perform its famous crab landing, aligning with the runway even under the most severe crosswind conditions. With an astonishing unrefueled range of over 8,800 miles, the B-52 effectively shrank the globe. Every point on the map was now within reach of its 28-foot bomb bay. It wasn't just a combat platform. It was the pinnacle of precision engineering. A design so complete that after 7 decades, no compelling reason has been found to retire this airframe. To understand the B-52, you have to understand its philosophy. While other aircraft chased speed, agility, and refinement, this machine was built to absorb punishment. A massive aluminum fuselage, wings so long they required auxiliary wheels just to stay off the tarmac, a frame engineered to bend in a storm rather than break. This wasn't clumsiness, this was by design. American engineers understood one thing with absolute clarity. If nuclear war broke out, survival wouldn't belong to the fastest platform, but to the one that could endure the longest. And so, this aircraft was not born as a fighter. It was born as a flying fortress. During the height of the Cold War, when its silhouette appeared in the sky, no one asked if it was fast. The only question was, how much is it carrying? There were moments in history when its mere presence was enough to alter enemy behavior. No stealth, no secrecy, just the ability to return again and again. The most frightening thing about the B-52 isn't its destructive power, it's its resilience. Its airframe was built to flex under extreme turbulence. While modern stealth platforms demand climate-controlled hangars, and sensitive coatings, this aircraft sits exposed to desert sun and Arctic gales. And when the order comes, it still takes off. Today, while many believe its era should be over, the U.S. Air Force is making a counterintuitive decision. They aren't retiring it. They are doubling down. Not to preserve a relic, but to transform it into something it has never been before. An old Titan, equipped with the brain of modern warfare. And that is where this story truly becomes dangerous. But before we look at the upgrades that will keep it flying until 2050, we need to look at the records this legend has already set. Chapter 2: The Fortress of Power and Terrifying Records. To understand the B-52, you cannot look at it as a mere aircraft. You have to see it as an ideology of war, wrapped in steel and titanium. Its wingspan stretches beyond 185 feet, a massive canopy large enough to engulf an entire fighter squadron. And when 8 jet engines roar to lift this 488,000-pound behemoth off the ground, it isn't just taking off. It is carrying the weight of a death sentence. But its true power doesn't lie in its size. It lies in its endlessly hungry belly. Inside, Boeing engineers created a brutal equation of destruction, with a payload capacity exceeding 70,000 pounds. It is the one aircraft that never negotiates with weight. While modern fighters meticulously count every pound of fuel to preserve their stealth, the B-52 asks only one question: is there room left? The answer was often found in the legendary B-52D Big Belly configuration, capable of carrying 108 bombs. It could carve a mile-long rectangle of devastation into the earth, where nothing would ever grow back. History proves this brutality with numbers that do not lie. In Vietnam alone, the B-52 family dropped 2.63 million tons of ordnance. During Operation Desert Storm in 1991, despite representing only a fraction of the coalition fleet, the B-52 delivered nearly 40% of the total tonnage, cementing its status as the undisputed king of carpet bombing. What makes this even more terrifying is that it strikes from 50,000 feet, a height beyond human hearing. First, a deadly silence. Then, the ground shakes like an earthquake. Survivors described it as fate falling from nowhere. Yet, the B-52 is not just a blunt instrument. It is an unconventional aerodynamic marvel, sketched in just 48 hours inside a hotel room in Ohio. It possesses features that no one has successfully replicated 7 decades later. Chief among them is its 20-degree rotating landing gear, allowing the aircraft to point its nose directly into a crosswind while the wheels remain aligned with the runway. In 1972, during Operation Linebacker II, this slow bomber achieved the unthinkable, shooting down 2 MiG-21 fighters with its tail gun. A bizarre air-to-air record that will likely never be repeated. Its durability borders on the absurd. The B-52 remains the only aircraft designed to withstand the overpressure of a thermonuclear detonation, even the shock waves generated by the very weapons it deploys. The cockpit is the only place on Earth where a young pilot today can sit in the exact same seat his grandfather occupied on combat missions half a century ago. During the 1991 Gulf War, 7 B-52s flew a 35-hour non-stop mission, covering 14,000 miles from Louisiana to Iraq and back. They launched 35 GPS-guided cruise missiles, a classified capability at the time. The result? 31 direct hits. Within minutes, Iraq's electrical grid and communications were crippled. The B-52 is not just powerful, it is irrationally durable. While modern platforms require climate-controlled hangars to maintain their sensitive systems, the B-52 operates in reality: sun, dust, salt, and Arctic cold. And when the order comes, it leaves the runway. Its combat readiness rate is often higher than platforms half its age. Not because it is more sophisticated, but because it is simple in the way true tools of war are meant to be: repairable, operational, relentless. Next, we move into Chapter 3, the true transformation. New engines, new radar, a digital brain. A total rebirth that will turn this Cold War legend into a 21st century predator. Chapter 3: The Digital Renaissance and the B-52J. The B-52 is entering the most extensive overhaul in its 70-year history. This is not a cosmetic refresh, not a new paint job, not a handful of parts replaced to limp through a few more years. This is a transfusion, a genetic rebirth turning a 20th century machine into a dominant platform of the 21st. The name of this new era is B-52J. Everything begins with the heart. For decades, 8 aging TF-33 engines defined the B-52. Their deafening roar and thick black exhaust trails a signature of Cold War power. But history has limits. Those engines were fuel-hungry and, more critically, they could no longer supply the electrical blood demanded by modern warfare. So, the old hearts were removed. In their place, 8 Rolls-Royce F130 engines. The F130 does more than extend range and slash fuel consumption by 30%. It turns the B-52 into a mobile power plant. In high-technology warfare, the most valuable resource is no longer just ammunition. It is electricity. You can field the most powerful radar and the most advanced jamming suites, but without power, they are just dead weight. The F130 solves that, generating the massive electrical output required to sustain next-generation electronic warfare. Paired with the engines is a new digital brain, FADEC, Full Authority Digital Engine Control. Pilots no longer struggle with manual throttle settings. Computers now optimize every drop of fuel and every ounce of thrust, making the control of 8 engines feel as seamless as a modern airliner. But engines only allow the B-52J to fly. What makes it truly dangerous is what it can see. For the first time, the B-52 is being equipped with an AESA radar, the AN/APG-79. Forget mechanically rotating dishes sweeping the sky like lighthouses. An AESA radar electronically steers energy, observing hundreds of directions simultaneously in fractions of a second. It maps the ground in high resolution, tracks airborne threats, and guides missiles, all in the same heartbeat. In a world of heavy electronic interference, this ability to see through the noise is absolute power. Inside the cockpit, the shift is immediate. The dense array of Cold War analog gauges is gone. In its place, a glass cockpit. Large digital displays deliver continuous situational awareness. Modern warfare is data warfare. Pilots are no longer just operators, they are battlefield managers, processing a flood of information and making decisions at machine speed. But the most consequential transformation is invisible. Running through the airframe is a new digital nervous system, connecting the B-52J to JADC2, Joint All-Domain Command and Control. The B-52J is no longer a standalone platform. It talks to satellites, shares targeting data with F-35s, and receives real-time coordinates from stealth drones. It has become a critical node in America's global kill web. To support this transformation, the bones are being reinforced. Electrical systems, hydraulics, landing gear, and brakes have all been upgraded for decades of continued service. The first radar-equipped B-52J has already taken to the skies for testing. The roadmap to initial operational capability points to 2033. That is the moment this aircraft sheds its aging shell and emerges as a fully realized high-tech predator. But new engines and digital brains are still not enough to survive the most lethal air defenses on Earth. To do that, it needs an invisible shield. Chapter 4: Electronic Armor and the Hypersonic Standoff Killer. Many people ask the same question. How does a massive, slow-moving giant with a radar signature the size of a skyscraper survive inside the lethal, layered air defense kill zones of the 21st century? And if we are rebuilding it anyway, why not simply make the B-52 stealthy? The answer lies in a hard, uncompromising rule of physics. Stealth is not a coating. Stealth is geometry. The B-52 was born in an era of primitive vacuum tubes and basic radar, featuring a vertical tail 3 stories high, a massive cylindrical fuselage, and 8 engines hanging exposed under the wings, with turbine blades spinning like disco balls for enemy sensors. Every angle and every rivet is a perfect radar reflector, meaning that on an enemy screen, the B-52 doesn't just appear as a faint blip. It appears as a loud, clear declaration that it has arrived. To make this airframe stealthy, you would have to bury the engines, hide the weapons internally, and reshape every inch of its skin. And if you did that, you would no longer have a B-52. You would have accidentally rebuilt the B-2 Spirit at a price tag measured in solid gold. So, instead of trying to disappear, the US Air Force chose a more brutal path. Blind the enemy, deafen them, and kill them before they even realize they're in a fight. This is where the concepts of standoff capability and electronic warfare become the backbone of the B-52J. Standoff means you never step into the kill zone at all. You sit at the edge of the horizon, calmly press a button, and watch the target vaporize from 1,000 miles away. In Vietnam, the B-52 had to fly directly into the teeth of enemy fire to drop its load. But today, the B-52J is a dedicated missile truck where you don't sneak up to the door, you demolish the entire house from the next zip code. But standoff is only half the equation, as the real terror begins when the enemy tries to reach back. The B-52J does not rely on hiding. It relies on a digital shield that attacks the enemy's brain rather than their steel. The upgraded ALQ-172 system doesn't wait for a pilot to react. It automatically scans, classifies, and counterattacks hostile radars in milliseconds. Using digital radio frequency memory, or DRFM, the system records enemy radar signals, manipulates them, and beams them back so that on the enemy screen, the B-52 is still there, but its position, speed, and altitude
are all fabrications. They are firing at a ghost. And if a missile does manage to track it, the B-52J deploys towed decoys, small emitters on fiber optic cables that look more like a B-52 than the aircraft itself, causing the missile to hit the lure while the Fortress flies on.
At this stage, the B-52J has evolved into the ultimate arsenal plane, the only platform on Earth capable of simultaneously carrying 3 tiers of strategic destruction. JDAMs for precision cratering, JASSM-ER, stealth cruise missiles for slipping through air defense seams, and APG-79 nuclear missiles as a cold reminder of the end of the world. But in the age of near-peer conflict, even these are becoming too slow, which is why the United States is handing the B-52 the most terrifying weapon in the inventory: hypersonics. Future hypersonic missiles are simply too long and too heavy for internal weapons bays, meaning only the B-52, with its massive external pylons, has the muscle to carry these monsters. The Hypersonic Attack Cruise Missile, or HACM, is a scramjet-powered beast that breathes air at Mach 5, traveling more than a mile every single second. A single B-52J can carry a staggering 20 HACMs, and when you launch them simultaneously, you are creating total saturation. Enemy computers freeze and radars overload, not because they ran out of ammo, but because they couldn't decide which of the 20 incoming nightmares to stop first. This creates a strategic pincer where the B-52J and the B-21 Raider operate as a team. The B-21 is the invisible assassin that picks the lock, while the B-52J is the armored giant that kicks the door off its hinges. Suddenly, the roadmap to the year 2050 makes perfect sense. If this vision holds, the Stratofortress will become the first combat aircraft in history to serve for a full century, proving that a perfect design from the past, fused with the tech of the future, is the only way to dominate the present. The B-21 is the ghost, the B-52J is the fortress, and the old man is not just staying in the fight, he is leading the charge. When the shooting starts and time runs out, which do you trust more? The ghost that avoids the fight, or the fortress built to finish it? Tell me in the comments, because the U.S. Air Force already made its choice. This is Future War Tech. Stand by for the next mission.